we're not looking after country people. We're not doing that. And what we're doing is creating our end. And how do we fix that? Well, we educate our young ones. You know, just because the tree's in a place where a road's got to go, it doesn't mean the tree's got to go. You know, what is that tree doing? What is it teaching us? What is it showing us? Who is it creating a home for? Because whole trees can be, what do you call them big buildings that they're building everywhere now in Sydney? Skyscrapers or whatever? I don't know the names for that stuff. But that's a big home, that tree. It's a multi-storey accommodation for lots of little things, including the little ant that's not seen. And people will think that the ant's not important, you know, because they don't see its work. But what ants do is they work together and they get a lot of work done. They unify and everyone knows their role and their place and they don't destroy their home or their country. And that ant is connected to the other big thing that's very important to my culture out in the ocean, the whale, Gurrawal the whale. And what Gurrawal does out there is a whole nother story, and we can't go there today. But that story starts way down south, not in, well, Antarctica is part of it, but there's places further under the water where the old people were living a long time ago. But we've got to start to really look at these things and work together. I do believe that, and it's taken me a lot of accepting and a lot of forgiveness, that Aboriginal culture and science can work together. I believe that can happen. But it's how we find that place, that we respect each other and accept each other's opinions. So I had an old scientist come up to me not that long ago, and I talked about a stick off a tree. And I said, that stick's alive. And I said, this is the reasons why. And he came back to me really worried about 8 years later. And I could see he was worried and he didn't want to talk in front of other people. I said, tell me your problem. Tell me what's wrong with you. He said, you talked about that stick and that stick is not alive. I said, okay, tell me your thing about life. And he said, there's 7 parts to that makes it a living thing. I said, that's okay. I said, but if I build a big fire and I stick that stick in there and you put your hand in there, it's going to burn you. And that's not science, that's common sense. And he walked away upset with me again for another whenever. He runs into me, it might be 10 years this time, that he has to carry this trauma because we didn't understand each other. I wasn't being rude. That's what I was taught, that stick can make a fire, and that fire comes from grandfather sun in the sky. No grandfather sun, no fire. Simple. My teachings were so straightforward and so basic that a lot of people were looking for big words when my old teacher said things, you know. And I had a car, and I don't know how much time we got, but my car got called a jungle because it had everything in there, leaves and branches, but not that I was taking everything. I just never knew what this old man was going to do. You know, he confused the bloody hell out of me. And he used to say to me, I'd turn up to an event to do something cultural, and he'd say, have you got this and that? And I'd go like this, and I'd nod. And I'd walk back to the car scratching my head. What's a this and a that? So I had all this stuff there, and I'd finally work it out, but I didn't remember what he actually taught me a week before, because he rang me up on that silly mobile phone that he used to throw away and it never broke, and he rang me 3 times at the same time with that mobile phone. That old man, he's ringing me 3 times. How do you do that? But, you know, all this stuff, we got to do something with it, because We don't understand each other properly. And the old people lived here for a very long time with funnel web spider, crocodile, great white shark, death adder, brown snake, tiger snake, and no St Vincent's Hospital. It was there in the bush. All your medicines are still there. You know, I did 50 days of COVID and I shouldn't be alive, but I am. I lived through it, and that's the truth. But how do we learn about that and respect it at the same time and not turn it into a commodity? Not turn it into something that we need and want, because you can only take so much before nature starts to teach you something else. We can't control nature. The floods, the fires. We don't believe in coincidence. We believe in language without voice, and nature talks to us each and every day. The floods and fires have been here forever. And if you look at the fires, they started in the north, they went down south, and then they come back. The rain did the same thing. No human being was going to put them fires out, them big ones a couple of years ago. They would have been still burning. It was burning under the ground, burning whole systems out of trees, whole root systems, big holes. You see big holes like this in the bush where a tree used to be. And then the rain come along and put it all out. Then the winds, it's been windy for 2 years. Is anyone looking at that? We call the wind Kurakarai. Kurakarai is the wind spirit. It's a living thing, like Gadu the ocean. The tree is alive as us. Imagine how trees feel about us humans. They're watching us saying, why are these crazy humans running around like this? Why can't they just stay put and do their job? You know, but we're always here, got to be here, got to be there. We're so easy, so predictable. You can always see where a human's been. And I don't mean to criticise you, mob, but we do need to wake up. I say in the world, and I don't know how my time's going, probably getting close, could be overtime. I haven't been paid for overtime for 20 years. I must be in the wrong job. How much time we got?
10 minutes, I believe.
Oh, 10 minutes. I can talk your ears off. Wow. But truly, the only way we can really start to understand each other is this. Coming here and sitting. But what would make this better is putting a fire in the middle. And then we sit there and we talk and we say, this is what I know. You know, my 2-year-old grandson teaches me every day. What does he teach me? Well, he's got a very open mind. He's like an ant on steroids. Give him some sugar and he'll jump through the roof. But he teaches me about respect, patience and tolerance. The first lessons I had to learn to get culture. The respect was about respecting women. That was the first thing I had to know and hold before my old teacher would give me any culture. I had to learn where I came from, woman. So when I banged these earlier 9 times, the 9 was from where we came from, all of us, that woman. No man can bring us into the world. And I hope science doesn't change that. I got no problem with same-sex marriage and partnerships. My son and my daughter are in them relationships. They're my family. I love them forever. It doesn't bother me as long as that person that they're with is a good spirit. You know, that's all that's about. But I can learn from a 2-year-old. I can learn from an 80-year-old, a 90-year-old. I hope I get to 90. I'm telling myself that I'm going to live till I'm 100. And the way I do that is live one day at a time. I set 2 goals in my life. I'm not going to be Prime Minister. Why would you want that job? You know, everyone criticises you and tells you you're doing the wrong thing. No, my 2 goals are, the first one is to reach 100 years of age. I want to do that. And the other one is each day as I wake up, I want to become a better person. Every day I wake up and I greet Grandfather Sun, not as a worshipper, but I thank Grandfather Sun that I'm alive, because I can see him, that I can feel his light, his warmth and his energy, and then I can go about my day. A lot of people wake up and say it's raining, I'm having a bad day. Well, I've got to tell them people, there are no bad days. My old teacher, and I'll finish on this story, it'll just about tidy it up. About 25 years ago, when I was blaming the world for everything that was going wrong in my life, blaming everyone else, it was always someone else's fault, pushing the blame. And my old teacher told me a story. And he said, when he was 7 years of age, he was out in the bush with his grandfather and his uncles. And they'd come into camp and they were going to set up camp. And Dullamunmun, at 7 years of age, come in kicking sticks and stones with his lip hanging, sad. And his grandfather said to him, "What's wrong with you?" And the little 7-year-old said, "I'm having a bad day," at the age of 7. So his grandfather said, "Are you sure?" Looked over his glasses. He said, "Yeah, I'm having a bad day." He said, "Sit down there, I'm going to tell you a story." The young fella must have thought he was going to sit there for hours with this story about a bad day. But the old grandfather said to him, "We don't get bad days. We get sunny days, we get rainy days, and we get windy days." And he walked away from him. And the little fella sitting there in the dirt after 30 seconds. And the old fella spun around, the grandfather spun around and said, "Oh, if you ever find that bad day, take a picture of it with your brownie camera." Some of you older people in the room would remember brownie cameras, they're old ones. And send it to me so I can see what this bad day looks like. Once the old fella told me that story, I had to look at myself. I had to start to look within me, because outside it was sunny. All the problems was about me and what I was doing and pushing the blame. A lot of people do that. They get stuck. They get stuck in the past, they blame the past, or they worry about the future. They don't know how to come back to the middle, the present. If you go outside the balance, what I call the present, you'll hurt yourself and you'll hurt other things. You love something too much, you'll hurt it. You don't love it enough, you'll hurt it. You get hot, you get sick. You get cold, you get sick. We've got to come back to the middle and look at ourselves all the time, do a self-inventory.